or impatience, like chances are you have self-doubt in other aspects of your life. Chances are you're
Totally
impatient in
true.
other aspects. And yeah, it's like, so it's like if you see those, if you just work on improving those parts of your life, you will improve your trading. It's a.
This is The Profit Factor, a podcast where we explore topics around edge, process, and mindset to help traders become consistently profitable. All right. Nice. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Julianne. So excited. I've been excited to talk to you all week because, well, one of the reasons is I looked on your, I've kind of looked at your profile and gotten to know you a little bit better. You're a photographer.
Yes.
You didn't know I was going to ask you that question, right?
It's really relevant to my trading journey, I feel like, because I mainly photograph weddings. And so like the fast paced, high pressure environments, it translates.
I've read a couple posts about that and how like, you're like, oh yeah, trading is way better than doing wedding and stuff, right? Hang on. Someone's at my door. Perfect timing. So my wife is actually a photographer too.
Oh, cool.
That's why I wanted to talk to you, because she is a landscape photographer.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
We've talked about like, hey, would you ever do like weddings or anything? And she's like, no, I don't want to take pictures.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. No, I actually, I'm fortunate. I've had like a really great client base. I've had the business for 15 years and, it's allowed me to like travel the world. I've gone to different countries for weddings and, really cool clients, and I enjoy it, but I get it. It could be a bit much sometimes.
Yeah. She's going to South Africa today, actually. After our live stream, I have to drive her to the airport, and she's going to go like 10 days backpacking in South Africa with a group. They're doing landscape photography.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, right? She has the best life.
That's a killer job.
I know, it's awesome. So anyway, we're good. I'm glad that we got to talk about the photography. Is that something that you still do, or have you pretty much? You're like, yeah.
I still shoot weddings. I'm booked for this year in 2025. And I really enjoy it. I have great clients, and the thing I really love most about it is that I'm constantly scanning. Like I'm constantly scanning a room. I'm looking for like visual patterns, behavioral patterns. I'm predicting what people are going to do next. And I don't know, it's just how my brain works. And I enjoy it. I enjoy being a photographer. I don't know if I'll do it forever because weddings are physical, it's a lot of work on your feet for long hours. So this is my future.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're equating some similarities, right?
Between a lot.
The two. So like where do you find like, oh my gosh, I developed these skills as a photographer, and then this is translating perfectly over into the trading?
The best place really is that like, there's definitely like a lot of weddings are similar. They follow like a similar structure, but there's always like slight differences, and so having like a basic understanding of how most wedding days go allows me to just look for the slight nuances, and I'm able to like just watch how people are. My cat's going to make an appearance. So
my dog came. So,
but I'm able to basically just like watch people's behaviors. And at this point, after 15 years, I've gotten pretty good at like predicting how somebody's going to react to a certain moment, and just being in the right place to catch it. And I feel like that really translated well to trading.
Yeah. Cause one of the things that I think, when you start to get consistent, like one of the keys is, I use this phrase a lot. I don't like to be surprised when I have a setup. Right.
Yeah.
And if you're prepped, and then like you said, I love what you said, like you're going into a room, you're scanning, you're kind of constantly looking, you're like, oh, this person might be heading over there. I need to be prepped for that. and it's the
Yep.
same thing. Like you're constantly scanning in your
Yeah.
trading as well, and then
It really is very
you're kind of
similar.
getting yourself ready, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
Huh. That's interesting. That's great. Those are,
Yeah.
it's amazing how, like we can take skills from, other places that we've learned and kind of build on them and turn them into something that as traders, that's unique to us. Right. Because
Yeah.
I don't have those skills. Like never done photography, never done weddings other than the one I was in. And so like we all kind of bring different skills and so that makes us suited. What did you find in terms of the type of trading that you do? Like, does that just fit with you because of those skills?
It actually does, and it's funny because like it took me a while to really figure out what works for me, and then in the end, what works for me seems pretty obvious. I love to I love level to level trading with size, working with trend lines, and being in and out. I don't want to be in the market for more than like 20 seconds, maybe a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most I want. I find like the fast paced action of NQ just resonates with me. It's similar to how a wedding day goes. It's a lot of like hurry up and wait. And then it's like, okay, there's going to be like 100 different things happening in this 2 minute time span. So be ready for all of them. And then there's going to be nothing happening for like an hour,
Yeah.
And so I find NQ for me is relatable.
That's your jam. NQ is your jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because I know there's probably a ton of traders that are like, NQ, oh, it's killing me.
Yeah.
It is fast. It is really, really quick.
Is.
And it's a little bit whippy sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely about like timing your entries. I mean, that's really the only way to trade NQ is to time your entries.
Yeah. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about, like, how do you, where did you start trading? What got you into it? What drew you in first? And then how did you kind of develop further? Like what was your process to get through on that?
It's a lot.
Oh yeah. Good. It's supposed to be. Yeah. It's supposed to be.
A little over a year ago, my partner mentioned that he thought I'd be good at trading. And so, I started just kind of looking into it and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. There's just like a lot of visual stuff, good for my ADHD brain, I guess. And it was just kind of fun at first. Like, it was like, all right, this is like almost like a video game and, really quick. But early on, I found Top Step and I started doing like the prop firm thing. And I wasn't getting anywhere. Like it wasn't, I didn't have like a strategy. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. It was just like gambling.
You're just watching some YouTube videos out there and you're like, okay.
Yeah. It was just gambling. And then I found Patrick and his, when he linked to the Market Flow Trader community, I jumped on there and I did a phone call with Sage, and he mentioned like data collection. Like that's his big thing is collecting data. And like, I started like just developing like what works for me strategy wise. But early on, I was kind of like I would hold my trades too long. Like I might have a great entry, but then I'd be like up like $500 and end up getting stopped out at even or a loss, And so I kept like missing out on all of this. And I noticed from like collecting data that really what kept happening was like most trades that I would get into, my timing was great. Like I would get in and I'd be green almost right away. But I wasn't comfortable with like, I guess taking my profits because I kept hoping like that would be the home run, and so I blew up a lot of combines trying to get the home run. And then it occurred to me like, all right, well, if I trade my own money, I'm going to be taking those profits, So I started trading micros in like my own funded account. And I started scaling up and I noticed like, all right, like I'm green almost immediately. So like if I go in with 2 micros or 3 micros or 5 micros, like I'm green pretty much right away. If I just take these profits, that's my money. And so that really like, that became my strategy. Now I'm back with like the prop firm thing. I I just passed 2 Top Step evals today, and I passed an
Wow.
Apex one technically the other day, but today was like day 3, so it passed today too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just because I want more size, and I'm not willing or ready to trade my own money with minis. So
Yeah. Congrats. That's awesome. That
thank
is,
you,
I mean, listen, that's a huge milestone for
thank you.
real. Because it's one thing, like trading your money is hard, trading on sim is hard, trading on prop firms hard, but it's all very different, right? And
Yeah,
it shows your adaptability, the fact that you could trade your own money, manage your mindset around that, the fact that you can trade a prop firm and manage according to risk management rules that that are brand new to you. Like that's really great adaptability in your trading. That's awesome. Yeah, that's
yeah.
really cool. I like
I
that.
found a lot of little things along the way that, like, I noticed that there's fear triggers, and fear triggers, everyone has them, and it's like you might not know what causes it, but like with fear, it just comes like self doubt, and you lose your confidence, you lose your patience, and for me, it's like I had to find out what that fear trigger was, and like that was like really the moment where I was like, all right, stop holding yourself back. Take your profits. You're green right away. Take your profits. If you want more money, go in with size. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a lot of managing emotions and figuring out what they are in the first place. Really is, that was a
Yeah.
big part of my journey as well. So.
Yeah. No, I love that. So you joined, you watched Patrick drew you in to the community, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then were you trading Patrick's strategy at first? And then did you adjust that and modify and kind of make it your own? Or did you just kind of stick with that? Like, how did you evolve your actual rules?
Well, Patrick really got me excited on NQ because like he would trade NQ, and I was like, wow, this looks really fun. And so I did his masterclass on Market Flow Trader, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, trend lines, like let's find the trend line breaks. And then I started like tracing trend lines back, and I was just like, oh, well, this touched a trend line like 3 times. So that's like clearly a key level. And I started kind of finding levels. And then when Sage started the live trading desk, I tuned in like right away from the start every day. And he would talk about Mancini, and sorry, my AirPod's popping out. And so like Mancini's levels. So I signed up for Mancini's newsletter, and I read how he finds his levels. And I started getting like really like nerdy about finding my own levels, and like to the point where like I would enjoy watching NQ go without me as long as it followed my levels, because I was like that nerdy about it. Yeah. So it was like a lot of months of me holding myself back, like knowing what I needed to do, really learning and absorbing a lot of information, and then just like not doing it out of some sort of fear trigger that I identified and was able to overcome. But I just, it was like I was able to absorb a lot of information, but I just couldn't put it into action until I just basically decided like no more BS,
Yeah. Yeah. So just like I want to talk about the fear triggers in a second, but before we go there, you're mentioning the live trade desk with Revan, which, so I have some thoughts on that, but I want to kind of ask you first, like what role has that played in your trading? Like, because, and by the way, the reason I'm asking that is because there's probably a number of people on listening here, they have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have some Market Flow Trader people on the stream, and then we have other people that are listening in. And so, let's kind of tell them about this, because this has been a really great tool for you and a lot of traders that I work with as well. So can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's a really unique thing, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is so unique, but I'd love to get your thoughts first.
It was such a major like pivot in my trading journey to follow every day, to follow Sage. He shares so much wisdom that like, if you listen to him for 8 hours straight every day of the week, you're picking up all of this, like it's insanely valuable. I mean, literally valuable information, because it translates to actual monetary value, in the end. It's just, it's amazing how much information he not only has, but is willing to share, and he shares it so well.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. He's a great teacher, and it's for the value, it's unreal. It's a great investment
Yeah.
to do that. That was a
Yeah.
big boost for me.
As someone who's been around the block, and I've been in different, rooms and stuff like that, like this is totally different. Like this isn't like, I remember there's this one guy that I listened to and he was really great. And I think a lot of traders have this experience where they'll find someone who's really great and you watch them take their trades and the hope is, well, maybe I can follow them and make a little bit of money. Right.
Right.
And what ends up happening is like, they're like, oh, boom, I'm in. Oh, boom, I'm out. And like, you're like, wait, what happened? And you have no idea what's going on. And you see this person making money and you probably are feeling a little bit frustrated because like, I don't know what they're doing. And what Revan does, which I think is just so brilliant and helpful to the community, is it's not like that. This isn't a room where you're necessarily going to go in and he's going to say, buy now, sell now. He's going to, this is the setup. This is what the setup looks like. This is why I'm taking this trade. This is why I took this trade. This is why you stay out of the market right now. Like it's more about teaching you how to actually trade that way than it is just come and follow me. And I think that's really the key for so many traders because nobody, like you can't just watch someone and follow them and do what they do. You have to learn on your own. And so you have to learn these principles. And so it's a really great mentorship in that room.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right? I've,
oh, absolutely.
In it, right. Yeah,
absolutely. And he's so supportive. Like, he really is an excellent teacher. He wants to see his traders succeed. Like you could tell that that's his number one goal. And, the wisdom that he shares is just like, even if someone's an excellent trader, they don't have like those years of experience. Like they're not like, I would never be able to think of all of the things that the wisdom that he shares on my own in like a shorter period of time. Like, it's like, everyone wants like a shortcut to be successful trading. And, there's no like shortcut, but really if there was one, it would be learning all of that information. It's so valuable.
Yeah. 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 And I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, hey, like, this is interesting. Where do I go? If you look at the description of the YouTube channel in the video here, you'll see a link over to the live trade desk. Highly recommended. So, and you're hearing it from, Julianne, like this is one of the things that was a real pivot for her in terms of her consistency. So, it's an awesome thing. So let's come back to the fear thing.
Yeah.
What was your fear trigger? What was it?
My fear trigger, it kind of went back and forth. There were two of them and they were like opposites. And like one was fear of failure. Obviously everyone has that, but it took me a while to realize I had fear of success because I was afraid I guess that I wasn't worthy of the amount of success that trading can lead to. And so it's easy to get that in your head and sabotage to prove that that's the case. And then you fail and you're like, oh, see, that's, and then you're like, well, now I'm afraid of failure. And it really took a lot of me like delving into like the reasons why that was a fear of mine to want to overcome it. Really once I started working to overcome that, it just was like that,
So what did you do? Because I think every trader struggles with on the mindset side. There's some aspect of fear there, right? So, I mean, if you don't mind sharing, like,
oh no, definitely not.
We don't need to hear about your childhood, but
no, definitely. It was as simple as like, I need to trade my own money because like, I'm not going to blow up my own money. I'm going to blow up a Top Step combine and to prove that like, I'm, not going to do this well or something, but I'm not going to do that with my own money. I've always been really responsible with money and just in general. And so I was like, all right, if I self-fund an account and trade micros, like I know I'm not going to, my AirPod keeps coming out. Sorry. I know I'm not going to blow up. I'm not going to sabotage it. And so like, it just forced me to basically do all the things that I was holding myself back from doing before when I was just trading combines.
Yeah. There's an element of like leaning on self-confidence there, right? Like you had an assurance in yourself that you would stick to rules when you were trading your money. And so you kind of leaned on your self-confidence in that area.
Yeah.
right? And that was helpful in overcoming the fear trigger.
I started my photography business 15 years ago, and right out of college, and I had nothing to start it with. I was scraping by, and just the fact that I could do that, and I felt like I was in a comfortable situation financially because I've had this business for such a long time. It's like, I'm not doing anything to jeopardize this business. That's my baby. I'm not going to just throw my money away. Like, I'm armed with the information to make money now. So let me just, put my own money up and trade what I know and stop holding myself back.
It's kind of, like I'm looking at you and I'm like, you're kind of a unicorn, because so many people come into trading and then they create baggage that has to be unwound. And it doesn't sound like you did that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I've been through like much scarier things in my life than blowing up a Top Step combine.
Yeah.
So I think that helps put it into a little perspective for me. And it was just like, well, what am I afraid of? I know I could do this. Like I said, I started a business out of college and got to travel the world because of it. Like, I could totally do this, and there's definitely like, it's definitely like a confidence factor, like positive, negative emotions, and like it translates to P&L. It's like, self-doubt is a negative emotion, fear is a negative emotion. And it's like you end up with negative P&L as a result of it. But it's the same thing. If you could just switch that around and, translate that into confidence, and, it just translates to a positive P&L.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I love it. No, it's just so interesting because I work with a lot of traders who spent years trying to work through this. And I spent years, like I created all kinds of baggage for myself, a whole history of losing that you have to unwind. And, it just sounds like you kind of got started and you really followed a path that worked really well for you, reduced the amount of baggage, made smart decisions, took it slow,
I can say I wouldn't have, though, without the live trading desk. That totally accelerated my progress, my whole journey.
I love that. Yeah. And I hear that all the time. Like I've got, lots of traders that I work with that are also in the live trade desk with Revin, and it's a game changer. It really is, because you just, like there really isn't anything like it. It's just it's not a normal trade room. It's not what you're going to get.
Yeah. And it gives you the confidence that like you might not have, like I didn't have that confidence, but watching Revin trade, like watching someone with all this experience take these excellent trades and share why he took those trades. Yeah. It's like, there's the confidence for you, it's like I was able to kind of like take from that, and it allowed me to have confidence in my own trades. Yeah.
Let me take a look at some of the comments. Sorry, Ultimate Steve, I don't know what's going on with my radically different volume levels. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Can you hear me normally? Does it sound?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Let's see. Any questions? I don't know any questions here. Which part of South Africa? I don't know. I don't know where my wife is going in South Africa, people. I have her itinerary somewhere, but I'm not quite sure. Let's see. A lot of comments. Okay. So you guys, if you have questions for Julianne, throw them in there. We'll take a look from time to time and see if you guys have questions, but feel free to, to jump into it. What do you think has been other than the fear thing, like what do you think is the thing that's kind of on your mind now about where your trading's at and where you want it to be? Like anything you're concerned about or you're thinking about or worried about?
I feel like I might actually have, I hate saying this because it feels like a jinx, almost, but I might have stopped my bad trading behaviors, my bad trading habits enough to just start setting goals, in my personal life or in regard to trading. And that's a really wild thing. It's like thinking about the future now. For a while, I just kept thinking about getting funded, making money, being profitable. And now I feel like I'm thinking about what I want to do with the money, what I want to, places I want to travel to, and like actual plans. And it's exciting though. I feel like I'm in a really exciting place with it all.
Yeah. That's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do with this money I'm making in this free time? Oh my gosh. We feel so bad for you, Julianne. I love it. No, it's great. It's great. I mean, it is interesting. Like, if you can master this, I think a lot of traders realize this, like, oh my gosh, if I can actually master this, I pretty much have an ATM for life. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely want to get to a point where I'm self-funding trading minis. That's definitely a new goal. I'm not ready or comfortable trading minis with my own money right now, and that's why I went back to the Apex and Top Step and got funded through them. But that might be something scary when that time happens. But hopefully I'll make enough in payouts that it won't be. Yeah. It gets a lot less scary when it's easy to get funded. Like when it doesn't feel like you're not afraid of losing a funded account when you can just get one.
Yeah.
When you're.
What was your scaling approach? Like I saw a lot of your posts early on, and you were posting a lot of stuff with the micros, and then all of a sudden you started going to the the NQ.
Yeah.
Did you have certain benchmarks that you were trying to hit financially before you started to scale, or were you like, I already am consistent, so I'm just going to jump in? Like, what was your mindset there, and what did you do? What was your process?
It was more about consistency. Sometimes I started to take some micro trades, and then I'd be like, all right, like this is going well. Let me scalp a mini real quick, and I would do that, and then be like, all right, like that was good. That was a good trade. I'm making some money. But really, like, it was just about like, all right, if I go in with one micro and I'm I have a good entry and I'm getting out quickly and I make this amount of money, then I could do that with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 micros. And then all of a sudden it's like half a mini. And I'm like, all right, well, I really want to trade minis. So I started scalping a mini here and there, but I was a little scared. I would scalp them. I'd be like in and out really fast. And that's why I was just like, I need to do the prop firm thing in order to feel comfortable trading minis. But micros were definitely a good tool as far as like trading my own money goes.
Well, one thing that caught my attention when I was looking at your posts on Market Flow Trader was you were trading micros, but banging out some awesome returns. I'm like, these are micros. Like, what the heck, right? And so that is kind of a testament of the consistency. Were you holding longer at one point too? Because I was looking at some of your Instagram videos too, and it looks like you had some good holds there as well. Yeah,
I was holding on the micros because I felt comfortable with that kind of a drawdown. But like I said, I was scalping a mini, and then I'd be in and out with a mini, and I'd be like, well, that was like almost the same as I made on this whole trade holding a micro. I'd much rather trade that way. I'd much rather be in and out and have less time, and like. It really, like, it depends on, like, what works for everyone's different. I don't like being in the market too long. I like to be in and out. So I do think trading minis is going to be better for me. Because I don't personally like to hold. It's just that, like, if you see the levels and that you can wait, then it's worth it. But I'd rather go in with size. Part of the Mancini
mentality you have? It's like, well, there's a Mancini level down there.
Exactly.
Maybe I should hold for that.
Exactly. It's like, but then at the same time, it's easy to like convince yourself that a trade is going to keep going when you're just waiting for that level. And I don't know, it's like, if you get your entries right, you could go in with 5 or 10 minis and just be in and out. And that's what I started doing with the Apex and the Top Step combines. I got those $4.50 Top Step 50K combines. And so I trade copied 2 of them, and yesterday and today, and I hit 1,500 both days. So I was able to get both of those to the target. And so, but I just did that with size. I mean, that was like, I think 2 trades today and 1 yesterday. And it was just like quick. I went in with all 5 contracts, but my entries were great. And I was able to just immediately move my stop. And then, so I trailed my stop and I had my profit target set at the 50% mark for the account. And it just happened real fast because, size, which I like better. I like in and out.
And those don't have the top step doesn't have a trailing drawdown, right? But the Apex does.
Apex does.
But that doesn't really affect you if you're in and out pretty quick. But does it affect you from a size perspective? Because if it does go against you, I trail my stop. So even if I'll have a profit target in case it were to keep going, but I'm trailing my stop. And so it's like, if it does add to it at all, it's going to be $200-300. It's not going to be, it's going to be kind of negligible. Because I'm just moving my stop right along with the candles. I don't care how long I'm in that trade. I just want to, I want to be in and out. I don't care about if it continues to go. Let's just say I make 2,000 off of a real quick move, and it continues going, and I could have made 10,000. I don't really care. I'm just waiting for the next quick move so I can make another 2,000. I'm not thinking about that. I just want to be out of the trade. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Huh. Do you have any, if someone were to, say, hey, I've been really struggling, right? What kind of, how would you nurture somebody into, a path of consistency? What would you do based on the experiences that you've had so far?
I would say that, trading, the market is it's a language. And people don't really see it that way, but it takes a long time to learn a language fluently. And I think a lot of times, when we look at the market, we're trying to predict what it's going to do instead of just reading what it's telling us. And it's you don't pick up a book you've never read before and try to predict the plot. You just read it and you enjoy it, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, that happened when it's over. And I think people get caught up in trying to predict the market as opposed to just reading it. And once you start reading it, it gets a lot easier. All of the other things start feeling a lot easier too, because there's no need to overthink. It's overthinking is a killer really in trading. And when you start to try to predict, you're just overthinking. And maybe that's not the answer, but that's a beautiful analogy.
That's one of the best analogies of the market I think I've heard. Wow. Honestly, the idea of the market being a language and learning the language, and the idea of it being a book, and sometimes we want to predict the end of the book, but sometimes we just need to read and say, well, here's what I think might happen by the end of the page.
Yeah. Or a new song you've never heard, and you're like, I'm really feeling this song, and you're just enjoying the song. You're not thinking about what the next lyric is going to be, and it's just a visual language, really, the market.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. That's really great. When you were in the process of doing kind of the data collection part of the work that you did, what kind of work was it for you? What did you, because you mentioned earlier on, this is a lot of work. So what was the work?
Oh, I would spend hours at night, not just during the trading hours. I would spend hours at night just tracing back trend lines and finding levels for the next day, and finding the major home run type levels, I guess. I would literally spend hours doing that. And sometimes I'd have a practice account, and I would just take some trades at those levels to see if they'd hold up. But really, the big thing was getting out of my own way. That's what took most of the work, because I kept having good entries. I would read the way a candle is presenting on 2-minute chart, for example. I compare it to the 1-minute chart, and I'd see the nuance in between, and I would be able to pinpoint my entry, but then I would just convince myself it's going further than it is. Yeah. And sometimes it would, because I would have that home run level. But oftentimes I'd get stopped out at break even, and I would get really frustrated. And so my data collection process was just realizing that my entries are good. I need to be out quicker. And so for me, that works best. But it's hard to really, it's hard work to really take a look at your mistakes and figure out what to do differently. It's you look back in hindsight, like now I can talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, I needed to be scalping pretty much. But at the time, it's like, it just takes a lot of work to even see what it is that's going wrong, you know? Yeah. And you know, Sage told me those 10,000 trades and I definitely did that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's a fundamental part of the work in trading that a lot of, especially newer traders, don't understand is you've got to get into the charts. You've got to, you know, the data collection, both Revan and I talk about the data collection part. You know, I talk about it in terms of, you know, the edge and validating your edge and then looking at your statistics and your metrics around edge. But you have to collect all that data and then you have to look at what's working, what's not working, filter things out and that kind of stuff. And all that work that's hard work. And, you know, people like, you know, when you watch Revan or when you watch Patrick or you watch other people who are, you know, consistently successful, it's real easy to think, oh, I can do this. It's super easy, right? Without knowing that there were years and hours and hours and hours poured into the work to get to that point. And so, you know, like that, I think that's one of the, like my family, I don't know how your family feels about you trading. We should talk about that. Like, I don't know. My family has no idea, but they think it's the easiest thing in the world. Like Taylor shows up and pushes a button, right? And I'm like, well, it's not that easy. You see the end part. So, I mean, do you have any sort of those reactions with people around you?
I have a really good support system and they don't understand what, you know, some of my support system totally understands what I'm doing. But like other people within it have no idea. And they're just like, this looks crazy. Like your charts, all your screens, this looks nuts, but are very supportive, you know, and, I think it's cool, I guess, you know. It's definitely important to have a support system. That is like, that's a very big help.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a few questions in here. All right. Hopefully my volume's a little bit better. I'm talking into the microphone. So hopefully that helps. I think I have like a noise cancellation on that might be affecting me. There was a question in here. If you made over 6,000 last month and the micros, why do you think you're not ready to trade the minis? Bill, I think she answered that. She's moving on to minis. The size combine, you answered that. So that's good. Julianne, while you're in the trade, are you watching your P&L and dollars ticks or risk reward?
Only when I'm trading the combines because I have to. And that was getting in my head too. The top step combines, like that 50% rule is just like, it's hard because you have to look at your P&L. And I kept finding that like I had to cut trades to make sure I didn't go over that. But when I was trading micros myself, I didn't pay attention. I just watched the chart. And I mean, I knew if I was in profit because my stop was, you know, above break even, but I didn't pay attention to really what was happening until the trade was over. I was like, oh, cool. That was that much money, you know. It's definitely like detrimental, I feel like, to just focus on your P&L, but like, you know, prop firms make it so you have to. Yeah.
No, it's totally true. And like both Rev and I are on the same page. Like, do not look at your P&L. You know, if you can't, like, you like look at whether or not you're trading your process. Like, I like to have people keep score on process trades. Yeah, I took a process trade. Oop, I violated that. Right. And then that's as far as you go. And then at the end of the day, maybe you keep track of the number of losses and you're done. Right. Maybe give yourself 2 or 3 losses. You're done for the day. Walk away.
Two losses like early in the day. It just means like I'm not seeing it well or the market's just not trading well. And if I force it, I'm going to lose a lot more money. So it's just like those 2 losses. And then I might take a look in the afternoon if I'm like curious if it changed and take one more trade. Usually like that would be a winning trade, but if I lose that one too, I'm like, all right, I'm not touching anything else today. So yeah.
Did you ever find yourself having trouble walking away? Cause I know that there's a lot of traders that struggle with that where they're like, no, I got to stay in and I got to try to make this back. Like, was that
I definitely did. I struggled with that a lot. And I got to say, I don't regret it because it pushed me to just constantly be like, eat, you know, breathing, sleeping, trading. It's definitely not like, it's not how to do it when like you want to be at that level, but to get there, like I could see how it's like you kind of have to fail a bunch of times to really, take the next step. And I used to do that a lot. I used to be like, I need to revenge trade. I got to get that back. And I'd end up losing. I'd be in a combine and I'd be like, this really got me all the time. I would so often get to that halfway point and then blow it the next day, because it was just like, I have to get this funded account. Or I would be like, say I'm in a 100K combine and 3,000 is what I can make in a day. And I'm like, oh, if I just make that extra, I'm at 2,500. If I just make that extra $500, I could be funded tomorrow. And then all of a sudden I'm down, that 500. So I'm down 1,000 from that 3,000 point. And I'm like, oh, well, now I'd be happy if I just made a few hundred back. And then I end up losing another 1,000. And before you know it, I'm in the red and I'm like blowing up another combine. But it's like, it's just part of the learning process. So
yeah. It is. It's, I think everyone's struggled with that one, right? Because like it hurts the ego to walk away and have a red day.
Yeah.
And it's like, I lost, now I got to come back tomorrow. I'm red. You know what I mean? And so the idea of like, okay, I can get past this is, pretty prevalent, and I think that's a fear trigger too, right? That it's the fear of losing is one. There's one trader I worked with, that it was a fear of being a quitter, right? Like, I don't want to be a quitter. So I'm quitting if I don't stay in it and try to make this work, right, for the rest of the day, right? And so it's interesting because we have lots of these little mindset hiccups that come into play. That's
trading. An interesting one because it's like if you keep trading and you keep dealing with the pitfalls of it, like you're not a quitter. Just gotta keep going and. It's an interesting one. It really is. It really is a thing where you just gotta like keep at it, and deal with all of those, the amount of times I would get to the halfway point. It's probably happened to me in 20 or so Top Step combines where like I could have been funded the next day and then I would blow up my whole account, within the following 2 days. Like it's just like a consistent frustration, but it really is necessary, and as long as you don't quit, like you will improve. Like that's really, I think that's the case for most people.
I like that. Like if you don't quit, as long as you're working toward, I used this story with a group that I was coaching yesterday, which was, or someone that was coaching yesterday, which was the British cycling team. And there's a famous story about them. I think there was a Harvard Business Review written up about them. And then there was a book, and it was, the British cycling team was like horrible for, 100 years. They never won anything. Sponsors wouldn't even sponsor them with their equipment because they didn't want to be associated with the British cycling team. It was that bad. And then it wasn't like maybe a couple decades ago, they got a new coach and he completely changed the, kind of the approach that they took. And it was 1% better. Like we've probably heard this term now, I want to be 1% better, 1% better. This actually came from this coach. And they did all kinds of stuff. Like they would test every little thing and they say, how can we make this thing 1% better? How can we make the sleep for our athletes 1% better? And it was the accumulation of these 1% better approaches is what ended up leading them to be one of the best cycling teams in the world, even today. Like they've won Tour de France's, they've won gold medals. And I think with trading, if we're not striving for that 1% better, if we're not setting goals that are like, okay, I need to be better at this one thing. If we're just doing the same thing over and over again, it's never going to work.
Yeah.
Right?
That's insanity, right? That's the definition of it. Just doing the same thing. And, but really, it's patience, right? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I think my internet froze for a minute. They're working across the street, and they keep like, it's my internet just keeps glitching, which is great when you're trading, by the way.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, it's still like patience in the trade, like patience when you're trading, but really just patience about the overall process and the journey. That's the bigger thing. Yeah, it's because it's like it takes a lot of patience to be okay with that 1%, you know, and but it's really worth it in the end. You know?
Being in a hurry does not speed things up.
Never. Yeah, no. It's like the tortoise and the hare story we learned when we were kids.
No. Let's see a couple of questions here. Let's see what size combine, scalpers market. I don't know. I don't know if that's a question. Taylor, is overtrading an issue with most of the traders you have mentored? Actually, I kind of can classify traders as overtraders and undertraders, and some traders are both, depending on when you talk to them. One day they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't take any trades today," and the next day they're like, "I took too many trades." So there's a lot of overtraders out there, and there are some undertraders. Like I would say, habitually, consistently undertraders. It's surprising the number of undertraders there are. Undertraders are actually harder to. I was an undertrader. It's harder to. I kind of coach through some of the undertrading challenges because, you know, like it's if you can't get someone to press the button, right? It's a little bit easier to get them to stop pressing the button than it is to get them to actually press the button. So that's just been my experience. But Kevin, it's maybe 60-40, you know, around there is what I've experienced. What are you? What were you? Overtrader, undertrader?
Oh, I was definitely an overtrader.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely. I was definitely an overtrader. Oh man, that was my biggest problem. I always said like I could have been funded and profitable, like if I had just walked away green. And finally, you know, I was just like, I need to just do all these things that I know are the difference. But I would just like keep trading even when I was like extremely green because I just wanted that 50%. Like I just wanted to be able to get funded in 2 days. And like I was so focused on that. That I would just take trade after trade and I wouldn't even look for my setups. I would just be like, okay, well, if that short didn't work, then this long must work now. And then by the time I get in the long, so I'd have a terrible entry on the long and it would be going down when I get in it. It was horrible. I just flipped my positions constantly. Like it was a mess.
No,
but I know like, you know, the opposite, when I would imagine under traders also have a problem with moving their stops too quickly or taking their profits too quickly. That's probably in line with under trading.
You're spot on.
You know, yeah.
It's that fear of loss, and it's not always a monetary loss either. It's in fact most of the time it's not. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with money, so you can't fix it by go down to micros. You know, like that doesn't work with under traders in a lot of cases. There's usually some other underlying reasons. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
Someone asked about in terms of, are you only focused on Top Step? I think you also said you did Apex, but do you just have a preference?
I don't have a preference. You know, I just saw the Apex. They had the 3-day get funded sale. So I was like, you know, let me try that. And so I had that, but I had those 50K combines from Top Step X that they gave away. And so I just did that too. And now I bought another Apex combine because they have that 1 day get funded thing. And I'm, you know, not like it really makes a difference. Like if it's 1 day or 7 days, but I just jumped on it. 'Cause I'm like, you know, if I can, I think they have like a 20 account limit. You could have like 20 funded accounts. I'm like, I'll just do it in increments and trade the funded account primarily, but like keep getting backup funded accounts if I need it as well. Just, you know, I think Top Step only let you have 3 funded accounts too. So,
and you don't run into any issues with any of them around scalping rules. Like, you know, you're not out too quick or anything like that for your rule. I
know that Apex. So I know that Top Step doesn't really have like their rules are limited to like the 50% rule to, for their consistency target in the combine. And then you have to have, I think, 5 trading days of $200 profits to be eligible for a payout.
Yeah.
And I think that's like pretty much their only rules. Apex, you don't have a consistency target. You could make all 6,000. If you're doing 100K, you can make all 6,000 in one day or even one trade. But in the actual funded account, I believe that they just want to make sure that you have a profitable strategy. So if you're just like scalping and getting lucky, and it's not because you timed your entries well and you're going in with size and you're making sure you're out quick, they're going to notice and they're going to question you about your strategy. So that's what I think their rules come in. But I don't think it's a hard line as far as like no scalping goes, as long as you have a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. Rob wants to know how long it took you to do the 10,000 trades. It's roughly, right? It's like a lot of trades, right? So
it's a lot. Yeah.
That data, how long did it take
I did the replay.
Yeah.
I took advantage of the replay feature, and I was definitely, that counts, so I was doing the replay feature a lot. I would sit there at night and find my levels, then go back and do the market replay and just take some trades and, And
it's probably still an ongoing thing for you. You still continue to, so you can develop and.
Oh yeah. Pretty much like when I check my levels, I don't have to spend hours anymore doing it because it's become clearer and clearer for me. But I like to trade a demo account when I'm just checking my levels. Cause I don't, it's like just to see if like, all right, this is working. I'll probably get to a point where I won't do that at all. And I'll just be trading my real money. But I think it's still helpful when I'm just doing my charting to have like a simulation account and be trading like after market hours, because it moves similarly. It just moves less and slowly, but yeah.
And your key, was there a key takeaway from all that work? I think you mentioned it before, but I know Rob's asking it again. So I can guess what it was.
I was holding too long trying to convince myself that the trade that I was in was going to keep going, or it was going to turn around, or, I was doing the thing I said about trying to predict the story instead of reading it. And when you get caught up in a trade like that, and you're just trying to convince yourself that is the story that's happening, it's really easy to overlook what's actually happening.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome. Okay. When is the optimal time to add you in along with Revan's coaching? And it's kind of like individual, based. I do a lot of mindset work. So a lot of what I do is around mindset. I also have I have a very structured process in terms of taking you through how do you do the actual data collection. So I have a very, kind of oriented process, go do this, build a trade plan, right? So I have a whole approach that shows you how to actually do the data collection work. And then we work on process, and then we do a lot of the mindset stuff. So I think if you're in a space where you can pinpoint mindset as, hey, this still is holding me back, then that's probably a good time to also add in the consistency accelerator as well. Or if you're struggling, you're not quite sure how to do the data collection work, that'd be a good one too. What's the max risk you take per trade? Mario wants to know.
So it's kind of crazy. Like I have my bracket set to like $300, and it's the same if I go in with 5 contracts, because I'm really concerned about my entries. I think I posted in Market Flow Trader my Apex numbers from the other day when I hit the 6,000 mark, and I think it was like I lost like $240.
Yeah, it was crazy.
One was break even, one was a losing trade. But I just moved my stop. I was able to move it quickly because I'm mainly just looking for like those perfect entries, So in the end, like my bracket just protects me. Like I'm protected, so I'm not going to like blow up. But it rarely ever gets to that point.
Because I have like an average. Like, do you have a specific amount of stop loss room that you take, or are you looking at a level for your stop loss?
I set my, I like this feature about Top Step X. Like you're able to set your own personal daily loss limit in there, and which you can do in Trade as well. But I set it to like $500 for that 50K account, and so that was 2 trades. I went in that would be two trades. So I had like 250 I was risking per trade. And, but it's like, I know that's really minimal. I think it's like 1 or 2 points if you're going in with size. But I didn't really, I don't worry about it because like worst case happens is I lose $250 or whatever, because I was wrong on the trade, and it's really not a big deal. As long as like my profits are much bigger, then I'm not worried about like a few $100,
Okay. So I just have to ask, cause this is pretty amazing, right? Like, I don't know if people realize this, but you're trading NQ on a stop loss of around 2 points, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure everyone's like, wait a second, what's your secret on timing the momentum? Cause I talk about this a lot, right? Like you could have the perfect entry, right? The location there's a lot of traders that are really good with the entry location, but not the timing.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Spill the beans, Julianne.
So
Spill the beans.
Basically so I used to overtrade, right? I'd be taking trade after trade after trade, but now what I'll do is I'll have like a standing limit order and I'll just be like, all right, I'm waiting for it to reject this resistance level. It could also reject down here, but I'm going to keep my limit order up here for now and just watch it and see how like the candle reads around that other level. And if it reads like it's safe at this other level, because I know that like if it comes up there, it's going to bounce off and it's fine. But I'm just going to watch this like smaller level to see if it actually, turns around there. And I just read the candles. I just literally read the price action. It depends on how the candles are moving. I noticed a lot of the things that like Sage talks about, and like Oliver Velez is another one, like his RBIs and everything. When I was doing the data collection process, like I noticed that there were things that I just was reading, but I didn't know what they were. Mm-hmm. And so like I would read this RBI, I didn't know it was an RBI, but I would just read that as a candle that was telling me it was going to continue up, or GBI. I was just reading it that way. So once I learned what I was actually seeing, it became a lot easier to identify it. And basically like I'm always looking at the clock, the timer. I'm constantly looking at the timer. So I'm like, all right, this candle looks like if it closes over here, that's the entry. Mm. And so like, I'm like all right, there's 10 seconds left.
You're on a 2-minute chart and you're looking at the countdown timer. And so,
like
so
there's 10 seconds left. So
are you more comfortable entering when it's kind of at the end of its time of building the candle?
I am, but it really depends on like the trade. I mainly trade trend lines. So like if I'm waiting for like a line to break, I'm going to watch that. Say I'm waiting for a long, I'm going to watch that support line and I'm going to have my limit order ready to be moved right to that support line. And, because it's a trend line, it's going up. So like, like the next candle, it could have been like a point lower, but now on this candle, it's a point higher. So I have my limit order there and I'm waiting for it. And then it takes another 2 candles and I'm moving my limit order as along the trend line as I'm waiting. And it's just like when it hits that, it just goes, and it's trend lines.
Julianne, I think you could do a master class on market timing entries.
Eventually.
I think you've got something pretty amazing. Like it really, really is. I don't know anybody that can trade NQ and be consistent on a, less than a 3-point stop. Like it's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm a nerd with a lot of things that are like technical. So I've really I enjoy watching the market even when I'm not trading it because I'm that much of a nerd.
I love it. Okay. Kevin, you ever traded today? Thank you for sharing that. You're going to have to set up a call with me. So let's do a mindset coaching call, brother. Let's do it. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else here? You can say max loss, 1 quarter. I think that's it. I will sign up today. Boom, boom, boom. Awesome. Okay, cool. I think that was all our questions. What else do you want us to know about? Anything else?
If you don't quit and you just stick it out, like it could take a year or it could take 3 years. It really doesn't matter as long as you see the rest of your life improving. That's really what it is. Like trading is not just about trading. It's like every problem you have, every fear trigger, it's all tied into every other aspect of your life. And like, whenever you run into a problem in the data collection process, think about what other part of your life that's related to, because usually like it's pretty relative. I mean, the market's moved by people, so it really is like psychology based, and there are a lot of ties to external factors. You know, when we're trading it, like if whether it's like self-doubt or impatience, like chances are you have self-doubt in other aspects of your life. Chances are you're impatient in other aspects. And yeah, it's like, so it's like, if you see those, if you just work on improving those parts of your life, you will improve your trading. It's that simple. And you'll look back and be like, man, my life is so much better because I worked out that thing that I didn't even realize I had an issue with until I started trading. And now I don't have that issue anymore. And I'm also making money. So yeah, just like stick with it and just consider like where else in your life you make the same mistakes, and it really improves your life. It can really make things awesome.
Yeah, that is well said. That is well said. The market has this amazing ability to show us what we need to work on in our lives. And
absolutely.
And it sounds like you've done the work. So you have done the work. I love it. You're a delight. I loved having you on. I was so excited. I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And it was. It was.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. So how can everyone stay in touch with you? Like I'm excited to keep following you. I want to see your journey, and I want to, I want to figure out how you're trading in Q. Tell us how we can get a hold of you.
So I'm on Twitter or X as Julianne Trades, and then I'm on Instagram as Julianne Trades Futures, and I'm on here on YouTube as Julianne Trades, and I'm in the Market Flow Trader community, which is the best place to be if you want to excel. That is,
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Julianne. Thanks everybody for coming today and listening in, and you're just a delight. It was awesome to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. I love it. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Check out my YouTube channel at The Profit Factor on YouTube. But if you really want to amp up your trading game, take a look at my Consistency Accelerator program. This is a program that was designed to systematically help you become consistently profitable. It includes coaching and course material around edge, process, and even mindset. Check it out at www.gettheprofitfactor.com.